Hey, what's up? This is Harry Wagner from Harry's Situations, and today I want to talk to you about crossover vehicles. Specifically, why you would want to lift a crossover vehicle like this Toyota RAV4 behind me here. So we're going to talk not only about lift kits, but other modifications as well that I recommend for crossovers and how they differ from an SUV. So keep watching. A lot of the modifications we're going to talk about are general to crossover vehicles, which include things not only this Toyota RAV4 that belongs to my wife here, but also Subaru Foresters, Honda CR-Vs are some other popular crossover vehicles that people are starting to modify. They realize that you can take these off-road. You're not going to do the Rubicon in one, but you can go a little further down the trail than everyone else can get, and that's really what it's all about, right? So one of the best upgrades I've made to this vehicle is that it is fitted with Nitto Terra Grappler G3 tires. This video is actually brought to you by Nitto. If you like what we're doing here, please subscribe to the Driving Line channel so you don't miss out on any content in the future. And speaking of not wanting to miss out, you want to sign up for Nitto's mailing list as well, because they're coming out with new sizes of these G3s all the time. This is a 245, 65, 17 that they recently released. They're coming out with large flotation sizes as well, like 37s in the G3s, and you don't want to sleep on those. So let's walk it back a little bit and talk about the differences between a crossover vehicle and an SUV. So SUV is a pretty large segment. It includes everything from like a Toyota 4Runner or a Jeep Wrangler up to something like a Chevy Suburban, which are very different vehicles with very different use cases. But what these vehicles tend to have in common is, they have multiple doors, they have an enclosed cab all the way to the back, unlike a truck that has a separate bed and a bed space separate from the cab. They tend to have ladder frames like a truck would have. They tend to have solid rear axles like a truck would have. Typically in SUVs, we see coils in the rear, where trucks still oftentimes use leaf springs. There are more and more trucks with coils in the rear as well. But SUVs have similar drivetrains to trucks, typically larger engines. They'll have an inline engine with a low-range transfer case behind the transmission. Now, some of this is changing. Before you go and fire up your keyboard, I do realize that we see things like, a Nissan Pathfinder now has nothing in common with a Nissan Pathfinder from the 90s. Similarly, a new Chevy Tahoe has independent front and rear suspension, so it doesn't still have that solid rear axle. Ford Explorers, for instance, now I realize have independent rear suspension and they have unibody construction, which makes it pretty similar to a crossover vehicle, really. So how crossovers differ is they tend to be smaller, they tend to be less expensive, they don't have that low range capability. Typically these will have a transverse mounted engine, similar to what you would see in a front wheel drive car with a trans axle. But they can still be all-wheel drive. This is an all-wheel drive vehicle, but lacks low range. It's unibody construction. It has independent suspension front and rear. It doesn't have a bunch of wheel travel or articulation. It doesn't fit giant tires, but it's great to drive in the winter. They cost less than an SUV and they get way better mileage. One of the biggest drivers for us in purchasing this RAV4 is this is the Prime model. So it's a plug-in hybrid. This actually uses just a normal 110 outlet. You can get 30 to 40 miles on electricity before it kicks into the gasoline engine, and then it's still a hybrid system that uses regenerative braking. So they make a normal RAV4 with an internal combustion engine, a passive hybrid system, and then this Prime system. I really like it. I didn't have to add anything different to my panel for my circuit breakers because it just uses 110. It doesn't have a huge range, but it definitely helps. We don't have range anxiety that you would have with a full EV because it'll run just on gasoline as well. This thing gets 38 miles to the gallon just on gas, which is 10 miles per gallon better than the Subaru that we replaced, and that was really a big driver for us. We needed something that was all-wheel drive, we needed something that would fit the whole family, but my wife commutes nearly 100 miles a day, and so fuel economy was of the utmost importance. Now, to be completely honest with you, the best thing to do would have been just to leave this thing alone and let my wife drive it. I can't leave anything alone. It is a flaw, I recognize that. It is not something that a lot of people consider a great attribute, but I can't help myself. So I tried to use reason. We put a 2-inch lift kit from Torq Engineering on this. That's just a spacer lift. It still uses the same struts. It doesn't add any wheel travel, but it does add height. It was pretty reasonably priced. It's under $500. By only adding a 2-inch lift, the CV angles don't get too severe. They do have a 3-inch lift from Torq Engineering, but I wanted to stay on the real moderate side to keep those CV angles from getting too steep. When you do that, you see the boots in particular tear or more wear on the CVs. I wanted to avoid that. The other reason to stick with a small lift on a crossover vehicle is that you can't re-gear the differentials. So unlike something like a truck or an SUV where you can get lower gears to account for those larger tires, that's not the case here. So you really don't want to go a whole lot bigger on the tire size, even if you do put a lift on, because you're going to really take the vehicle out of its power range and power band, and you're going to hurt that fuel economy, which was the whole reason for us for buying a crossover in the first place. If you watched the video we made a couple years ago about my wife's Subaru Outback, which was her last daily driver, a lot of these modifications will look familiar to you. So they include things like a small modest lift, a little bit larger tire, also an aluminum skid plate up front. So this has a stamped aluminum skid plate from Rival. I really like it. It fits really well. And the reason I add that is not because I'm planning on taking this thing rock crawling, but a lot of times in the winter there's berms and there's snow, and you never know what's buried in there. It might be rocks, it might be a piece of ice, and the last thing I want is the oil pan taken out while my wife's trying to get to work. Another thing that she really likes are amber fog lights from Diode Dynamics. So the Subaru had them, this has them as well. They're SAE legal, they look really good, they help a lot because we get a lot of fog around here in the winter, and they're down low. They really help cut through that fog and help with visibility. And let's be honest, they look pretty cool too. Now, that small lift kit I talked about on this, it is a 2-inch lift kit from Torq Manufacturing. So this is a spacer for the front of this vehicle. You still use the factory strut. It just goes on top of the strut to provide lift. But the nice thing about this is you'll notice it's not symmetric, it's offset, and they do that in order to retain the factory suspension geometry. So you're not wearing out tires, you don't have any weird quirky handling characteristics that you might have with a less expensive lift kit. I've been really pleased with the products I've got from these guys. They make other products for RAV4s as well, and for other Toyotas, rock sliders, skid plates, you name it. If you want it, Torq's got it. These are the tires and wheels this vehicle came with. Now, we bought this used. I mean, these tires are balder than Jason Statham and not as good of a transporter. Now, this is a 19-inch wheel, a factory wheel. It weighs 26 pounds, and this tire is 28 inches tall. Now, the new tire, this is a Nitto Terra Grappler G3 in a 245/65 R17 size that obviously 2 more inches of sidewall, well, in total, 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom, because we went to a 17-inch wheel. These Koenig wheels weigh 16 pounds. They're 10 pounds lighter than the factory wheels. So a lot more rubber here. This tire weighs 10 pounds more than the factory tire, but the overall wheel and tire combo are the same weight. And why that's important is all of that rotating mass takes energy to get up moving. It requires more braking to get stopped. So if you have a heavier tire and wheel combo, regardless of the height, it's going to eat fuel economy. So I wanted to keep the rolling stock as light as possible, but I really wanted to run these Terra Grappler G3s. You can also get a Nomad Grappler from Nitto in this size. The Motivo 365 would be the most reasonable choice. It's a very mild tread. These look aggressive, but they're not that loud. They work really good in snow and icy conditions like we get here in the winter. So this is a 3-peak mountain snowflake rated tire. What that means is that it's undergone testing in order to achieve certain qualities on snow and ice that not all tires have. So you know you can trust these to be really good in the winter, but they work good in the summer as well. They're great on the trail and they're great on the road. That's it for this episode. Hopefully I've convinced you that crossovers do have a place in the off-road market, and they're a great option if you live in town, you want good fuel economy, but you still want to go explore. Let me know if you disagree or agree in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching this Hairy Situations video on the Driving Line channel. Driving Line has all sorts of great content creators, and they're dropping new content almost daily. You're definitely going to want to subscribe so you don't miss any of it in the future. And we'll see you out on the trail.